This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV Hindu.
Vedanta gets a mild reprieve from the Supreme Court, but will the repeat offender shut down its copper plant in Tuticorin? Despite CBI stepping in, a 7th death threat, yes that's right, a 7th death threat to Jayalalitha surfaces. AIADMK cadres worry for her life. A day for us to show all the attention on elders. Today is World Elders Day. And look at how Rajnikant, the robo, is ruling the box office incident, showing in over 2,500 screens today.
No other hero is carrying such a big fan following. It's really a great experience to be in this first show along with the fans.
And the robo crew in fact gets candid right here on NDTV Hindu.
You want it, come and get it, boy, or are you just a robot toy? I don't want to break you, even though it takes two, kind of like a breakthrough. You don't even need a clue, you be my man to back up.
Well, all that and much more coming your way. Let's have a look at what else is making headlines in India and rest of the world. Musharraf makes a political comeback with the launch of his all-new, all-party Muslim League. Home Minister Chidambaram says he is pleased with the Ayodhya verdict, but that the case on the Babri demolition would go on. The 4 policemen in Chhattisgarh who were kidnapped by Maoists released their families. He was sigh of relief. And Aussies come back to dominate on the first day of the first test match. Well, despite the CBI stepping in, the death threats, the continuing death threats to Jaya simply do not seem to stop. AIADMK-backed Jaya Television today received 2 more death threats, warning AIADMK Chief Jayalalitha against visiting Madurai. The letters are received from southern districts ahead of a proposed Madurai rally. The AIADMK Supremo, let's just remind you, had announced that the proposed Madurai rally would be held on the 18th of October. Now, of course, a lot of questions coming to the forth after the 7th time the TV channel office is receiving such death threat letters. The latest death threat letter warns her against visiting Madurai, of course, which is in Alagiri stronghold. For more on this, let's go across to Peer Mohammed, who joins us live from the newsroom. Peer, 7th letter now in less than 40 days, a worrying indication. Now, what is in store for the Madurai rally eventually?
Manish, as you know, the rally has been postponed twice because of these death threat letters. In fact, they planned the rally on August 22nd first, and they postponed the rally to September 24th. Even that could not happen because of continuous death threat letters, and there have been indications that these are not empty threats, and particularly Madurai being the stronghold of MK Alagiri, and particularly after Jayalalitha's 2 rallies in Coimbatore and Trichy have been quite successful, because the turnout in these rallies have been a morale booster for the sagging AIADMK cadres. So that has led to these kind of threats, and this issue was taken up by the AIADMK leaders again and again with the state authorities, the Home Secretary, the Chief Secretary, but there was not much progress made in the police investigation at the state level. Then they took up the issue with the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, and after that the Prime Minister assured the AIADMK MPs that they would intervene, and finally this week Chief Minister had announced all these cases will be transferred to the CBI. Yeah, Manish.
Peer, in fact, can you give us more details about this latest threat? Of course, the letter has been received by Jaya TV, but the contents of the letter?
Yes, Manish, the latest 2 threat letters have been received, one from Kanyakumari district and one from Madurai, both are southern districts. And the letters, in fact, I have a copy of the inland letter which was received today by the Jaya TV office, in which, the clipping in which Jayalalitha says, come what may, I would attend the Madurai rally from the Daily Tandi. That is given, and you will return dead. That kind of Pinamavai. That is the message. This has been the repeated message that the Jaya TV office has been receiving all these 40 days. days, again and again the same message is coming. If you come to Madurai, you won't return alive. And also it refers to Rajiv Gandhi's assassination. Also says that, if you release these letters to the police or the media, you would be killed. That is this kind of message that threatening not to disclose it to the media is finding place for the first time. And also the other threat letter also has similar dialogues, and particularly after the CBI has stepped in.
Right.
These death threat letters seem to indicate that they are not empty threats.
Right. Also, of course, Peer, as you do point out that despite the CBI stepping in, the death threats do continue to trickle in, which also raises, of course, the big question on the kind of allegations that the AIADMK has been making, in fact, invoking Alagiri's name behind these death threats, even though Kanimuri in Nagarkoil did say that the DMK cadres are not a bunch of cowards to be sending out such letters. Now, where does this really put Alagiri and, of course, the allegations of the DMK, put that in perspective for us?
Yes, Manish, Alagiri has not commented on this, but again and again, particularly in the representations given by the ADMK leaders, they had indicated that Alagiri might be involved in the such death threat letters being sent. Alagiri's supporters, because his name is invoked by his supporters, by his alleged supporters in the death threat letters. In fact, Alagiri Annanude Urukku, that is Alagiri is popularly called Annan. If you come to Annan's town, you won't return alive. That kind of message indicate might be Alagiri may not be directly involved. Alagiri's supporters might be involved in the continuing death threat letters.
Right. Thanks a lot, Peer Mohammed, there for joining us live from the newsroom. That was Peer Mohammed. Let's just remind you, 7th death threat in less than 40 days has been received by Jaya TV. That's the AIADMK backed channel. Of course, headquartered in Chennai. A CBI inquiry has already been ordered, but the death threats simply do not cease to stop. In fact, we will be continuing with that coverage as and when we get more details. We have the contents of the letter. Peer Mohammed there did tell you about what was contained in that letter. Also, the big question of Alagiri's name being dragged. We'll be tracking this story. Now, moving on to another contentious issue, which has, of course, set the debate bells ringing in Tamil Nadu and also across India. Sterlite, a subsidiary of aluminium company Vedanta, can heave a sigh of relief, at least for now, with the Supreme Court staying the Madras High Court order for closure of Sterlite's copper smelter in Tuticorin. The company is now putting together a strategy that will help it save the blushes when the axe does come falling, like it did on its aluminium plant in Niyamgiri in Orissa.
Just when Vedanta's Tamil Nadu subsidiary was getting all set to shut down, comes a reprieve from the Supreme Court of India. Vedanta owns Sterlite's copper smelter in Tuticorin can function till the 18th of October.
We are in the process of compliance with the High Court order, and it's a continuous process plant, and it cannot be shut down immediately. It's not a plant which can be switched off. So, but we are in the process of compliance with the High Court order the last few days. Yeah.
The Supreme Court will now decide the fate of Sterlite's operations in Tuticorin. With the next hearing in 3 weeks, Sterlite will be bracing itself for any eventuality.
So we're not just talking about prospective damage over here, we're talking about historical damage. I mean, the company has been operating for nearly 17 years, haphazardly dumping hazardous waste, letting out untreated effluent waters. So the damage is already done.
Even the Supreme Court Monitoring Committee has maintained that it was astonished at the manner in which the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board granted clearances to a company which was not only booting all environmental laws, but doing so blatantly and without fear. With Sai Manish, Jason Tosh for NDTV Hindu.
Well, some respite for Vedanta-owned Sterlite, but this issue has raised a stink on how Vedanta is blatantly disregarding laws in this country. Not just in Odisha, where it's been booted out after an international uproar, but right here in Tamil Nadu as well. Now, here is how Vedanta put profits over people in Tamil Nadu. In 1994, the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board allowed the setting up of Vedanta-owned Sterlite's copper smelter, thinking it was well situated beyond 25 kilometers from the Gulf of Mannar National Park. When satellite images clearly show that it's located well within 14 kilometers from this ecological hotspot. Then in 1996, despite the dubious permission given to set up a 40,000 ton per annum copper plant, Sterlite expanded its capacity without even a consent or a clearance to 1,70,000 tons of copper anode. That's over 4 times that permission granted to Vedanta-owned Sterlite under the law of the land. And then, of course, one of the biggest violations, despite the Supreme Court Monitoring Committee finding blatant violations by Sterlite, an environmental clearance is given by the Ministry of Environment and Forests, and that too just a day after the Supreme Court Committee leaves Tuticorin after inspection. Not just that, just a few days later, another consent is given to Sterlite to expand its smelting capacities to a massive 3 lakh tons a year. For Vedanta, its action replay Orissa in Tamil Nadu. Like everywhere else, Vedanta has put the cart before the horse. For Vedanta, laws are an impediment to faster growth, so to flout them is good business sense. Whether the highest court of this land will buy that argument will be something that will be keenly awaited. With Peer Mohammed, this is Sai Manish for NDTV Hindu. Well, in joining us live right now on this show is Nityanand Jayaraman, one of the best known environmentalists in the country. Nitya, a very good evening to you. Of course, a disturbing trend. The SC committee, the Supreme Court Committee on Hazardous Waste, back in 2004, Nityanand Jayaraman, if you can hear me there, had found out that Sterlite was exceeding the permissible capacity of producing copper by at least 4 times. And Vedanta, post Niyamgiri, is giving the Ambani argument for violating so-called regressive laws. Now, is that justified?
Regarding the allegation that Sterlite has expanded capacity and expanded production way beyond the prescribed limits, this is a pattern with Sterlite. The law usually plays catch up to make Sterlite's illegalities legal. In the case of Thoothukudi, the company set up within 15 kilometers of the Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve, despite being told specifically that it has to set up 25 kilometers beyond. Right from day one, it has violated the consent condition which stipulated that it is to manufacture only blister copper. It was manufacturing anode copper. While it had license capacity or license production of 70,000 tons per annum, it is producing more than 1,64,000 tons per annum. While it did not have any permission to expand or set up new production facilities, it went ahead and set up an entirely new anode manufacturing, cathode manufacturing, continuous cast rod plant, oxygen plant with no permissions whatsoever. And this was subsequently regularized by the Pollution Control Board and the Ministry of Environment. Regarding the other argument that you say that Vedanta is claiming that it is only violating regressive laws, I don't think Vedanta can decide what laws are regressive and what not. Until the laws are in the books, they will have to be followed. Then people can go around saying the Land Acquisition Act is illegal and violate that. I can say the Police Act is illegal and violate that. So where does the buck stop? I'm pretty certain that Vedanta will now try to change what is called the regressive laws. The industry has been very, very actively lobbying the government to undo all environmental regulations. But as things stand, Vedanta is running a totally illegal facility and has to be shut down.
Well, that's right. In fact, Mr. Jayaraman, you do, there say that there have been repeated violations. But of course, sir, the other side of the story is also considering the high linkages established by Vedanta and the number of ancillary units dependent on it. You think it's going to be an easy task to make Sterlite shut shop?
I don't think it's ever easy to shut an industry, large or small. But then that cannot be used as an industry as a blackmail point. It must be the company must be made to abide by all the laws. If it is not abiding by the laws, then the law should prevail. We cannot start making exemptions saying this company will be closed down, that won't, and these are the conditions under which it will be closed down and these not. In the case of Sterlite, it is a repeat offender. This is not the first time an offense has been committed. Every offense has been pointed out. It has been responded to with more offenses. This, I think, calls for very stringent and exemplary action.
Well, also, yeah, that's right, sir. But what's the prospective damage? Of course, we know that this is the kind of argument that's being promulgated, and also it's not an easy task. Also, the Supreme Court did rule on this particular factor that you cannot give a post facto environmental clearance when an industry has already been stepped up. But also for the viewers here, Mr. Jayaraman, what is the prospective damage?
We're not just talking about prospective damage over here. We're talking about historical damage. I mean, the company has been operating for nearly 17 years.
That's exactly the point,
dumping
sir.
hazardous waste, letting out untreated effluent waters. So the damage is already done. A March 2005 study that the Madras High Court has relied on and has commented on, has included in its order, actually suggests that the entire factory site might be considered hazardous waste because of the high levels of arsenic, chromium and lead that have been found in the soil. So what this means is that the groundwater has also been found to be contaminated with high levels of these heavy metals, including arsenic. And you have chemicals like arsenic. Arsenic causes, several kinds of cancers: lung cancer, throat cancer, stomach cancer, lymphoma, diabetes. And what we have in our hands is a disaster that's already happened. Allowing this company to function for several more years until the Supreme Court's order comes on this will just mean prolonging and exaggerating or exacerbating the disaster that's already on the ground.
Right. Thanks a lot, Mr. Nityanand Jayaraman, for joining us with your valuable inputs. Of course, the big thing will be seen in the coming few days. 18th is when the Supreme Court will decide on whether to go ahead with the particular stay. But of course, it's a raging controversy now. After being booted out of Odisha, Vedanta is trying to hold on quite desperately to the copper smelter plant, which has been opposed for almost more than 10 years now by environmentalists. One of them, of course, Mr. Jayaraman, who told you about the local opposition there. This is one case we'll be following here on NDTV Hindu. Time for us to slip into a short break, but up on the other side, all the news about robo, including this woman.
Boy, or are you just a robot toy? I don't want to break you, even though it takes two, kind of like a breakthrough. You don't even need a clue. You be my man to back up.